Hello everyone and welcome back to the Game Emporium, where some friends have gathered around the table to talk about some board games. It's another Top of the Box where Ross and that's Ross, and I'm Luke, we are going to be going back into our top 50 games of all time. We are getting into, this is the last five of the bottom half of this list.
Yeah.
So once we've cleared that, we're going to get into the real good games very, very soon, but we're going to go through the 30 to 26 in this batch. And I've got a good feeling about this section of the list. I feel like you're gonna you might give me some
We'll
nonsense about a game not being higher, but we'll see.
Oh, okay.
Just based on what I know you know about this game, you might want it's probably going to be higher for you, I suspect.
I know that you know that I know that we know that you know
that you out there know.
They know
everything.
Not yet.
What I don't know is, why is there so much glitter on my playmat here? I don't understand this.
You're fabulous.
I am. Thank you. So, shall we just dive straight into it and get into our number 30s? If I say two words to you, you're going to know what this game is. And those words are Space Bees. Yeah.
I do know what this is.
My number 30 is Apiary.
Mm-hmm.
So, Apiary is the big Stonemaier hit from last year, where you are basically worker placement with bees.
Space bees.
It's Space Bees, effectively. That's it. All you need to know about it. But you've gone into this world where the humans have disappeared for some reason. They've disappeared. They've explicitly disappeared. They're not dead. They've just vanished. And in their place, uprise the power of the aphids, and they have grown strong as the bees now take over and become super intelligent, and have now developed space travel, as well as the various artifacts that are left behind by the human remnants, I guess is probably the right word for them. And you're going to be placing these workers out into different locations, doing different actions with them, depending on the value of that worker. And each time you place a worker out, it's going to get stronger. It's going to increase by a single value until you get to a value of 4, and then they're going to go into hibernation. So you have to make sure you're working these bees correctly so that you can utilize them to get the various powers, to build out your hive, your spaceship, to get these tool tiles and special powers that can bonus and boost your actions, and just doing good bee stuff.
Yeah.
But in space.
Yeah.
I mean, when this game was first announced, I think the bees in space immediately sold you on it, and we played it.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
We played it for the first time at AC West. Like 2 weeks off, I think maybe like 2 days before your copy arrived to me.
Yeah.
Because it was an instant buy for you. And we played it and we were just like, this is a very good game.
It's good.
It's a very good game.
It's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, I really like it. I know you quite enjoy it. I'm glad to see that there's an expansion coming out in the not too distant future.
Yes.
When I say not too distant future, at some point in the next 18 months.
Yeah.
Who knows when?
It's got, I don't think you mentioned it, or I completely glazed over if you did. Obviously, it's got really good bee bumping mechanics where they get stronger as you bump them.
Yes.
Which is just quite obviously nice to have a worker placement game. Awesome. But yeah, with the kind of, not always, but the occasional, if I bump this person's worker off, they're going to get stronger. Yes. Obviously, if you hit, essentially when you get to 4 strength bees, that starts progressing the end of the game as well. So you're trying to get the right balance of making sure you're doing everything you do, but also some of those action spaces with the more powerful effects, you need to have your 4 strength bees. So I said the Space Bees was going to be an instant buy for me. I'm just glad that the gameplay lived up to the theme.
Yes.
Excitement for me, I guess. Yeah. Having said that, you probably could have just done bees, or just done space, or just done one of these things, and then it wouldn't have been. But yeah, so it's just quite nice. In fact, we talked about it. I like very unique, interesting themes in the games.
Exactly.
Getting a bit bored of just zoo or just space, so they did it here. So I can't really complain, can I?
Yeah, I think it was a good debut for Connie Vogelman, who's then gone on to design Wormspan. So there's been some very good games that have come out of her noggin. So that's it. That's my first one for this one, number 30, Apiary. Ross, what do you got?
I'm starting because it's been a little while between our recordings. I'm trying to remember if you mentioned this game before, and I think you might have done for some reason. My 30 is Fit to Print.
Yes, it was my 31. It was my 31.
I did think I'm sure it was closer when I remember when you mentioned it before, but I couldn't exactly. Yes, Fit to Print. Obviously, yeah, really, really close on the rankings for both of us. I mean, go watch another video for more conversation about it, I guess. But that said, you're on a time delay. You're trying to put pieces into your newspaper. Your newspaper gets bigger over the 3 rounds, basically, each day of the weekend. You're trying to balance having ads in there. You're trying to make sure you've got nice photos, got the right articles. There's some rules about where you can place them in conjunction to other things. Yeah, it's just a little bit of chaos. It's in the realm of a Galaxy Trucker with that kind of placement of. Yeah, I mean, it's good. I'm probably repeating myself. I recently played Art Society, and I think they're quite similar, but Fit to Print wins out over for me because it is slightly more chaotic. It adds a little bit extra to it, whereas Art Society is much more relaxed, with slightly different how you acquire tiles, elements, and all that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, good. Yeah, like I say, it's a good game. It's an easy one to teach other people, really, as well, which is always a winner for me.
It was one that we played on my Stag Do. We didn't really talk about this in the last video. We played it on my Stag Do as the warm-up game. It was just like, hey, let's get everyone around the table. We could just play this game about making a newspaper. It took us half an hour to play and teach. Yeah. So, it's a very quick, easy game. Everyone enjoyed it. And they're like, yeah, let's go warm up. What should we do?
It is.
So, yeah. Fit to Print is a very, very good fun game. And I probably mentioned, we skipped this out at the beginning, but if you haven't watched any of our previous videos, go check them out. Go see what came on the 50 to 31 so far. Spoiler alert, my 31 was Fit to Print. So if you haven't seen those, go back and check them out. Alrighty, so that's our number 30s. We'll move on to 29.
Oh yeah, 29. It's me next, isn't it, as well? So I'll keep talking. So, 29. Again, I can't remember if you mentioned this already now. I'm trying to remember. Rolling Realms.
Yeah,
so,
my 41.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I'm sure you did again. Yeah, Rolling Realms. Yeah, really. I mean, I love a roll and write.
Yep.
So it doesn't really much simpler, and I mean that in a positive viewpoint. It doesn't really become much simpler than Rolling Realms. I love that it's a little bit meta because obviously they're about board games essentially. So there's quite a wide selection of them now. You have a card that has some rules set out on it. Everyone else is basically rolling some dice and then checking off boxes based off that on their personal card, trying to score as many points as they can. And it might be something really simple, like, I don't know, trying to think of an example. It's absolutely escaping me right now. In fact, isn't there an April one? Funny enough, I think there is.
Pretty much all Stonemaier games have got their own. In fact, all Stonemaier games have got their own little thing for it. But you've got things such as Architects of the West Kingdom.
Yes.
You've got
Tapestry.
Ark Nova. Tapestry is a Stonemaier one. Rosker. Boom Lake is another one they've just got in there, which is a whole bunch of new ones come out all the time. Like every time Stonemaier do a release of something, there's another 3 that have been developed in the interim.
I really, like I say, I like a roller. I like a game I can introduce to people, which is relatively simple to do. And like I say, I enjoy it. It's a bit meta, so we don't have to cover off loads more because we already talked about it. Go watch the other videos, like we keep saying, and it's good because there's some crossover now, right? Normally we don't have.
I don't know. We do get some crossover. That's going to be something. I think we'll probably do another analysis video like we did last year, where we'll have a look at where we had those crossovers because it's probably not as much as we did last time. I think we've diversified a little bit in our gameplay.
We have,
but there is definitely some crossover on some of the stuff that we both enjoy, and Rolling Realms is a good one. It helps that we've got the Redux version is coming in the not too distant future. Which I realised, I think it's the same size box as the current one.
Oh, really?
So it's still
They're just
quite
reorganised to...
Yeah, there's a reorganisation and there's like a little travel box that you can take around. So you can just go, I'm just going to shove these realms and the dice in there and just go take it with me somewhere.
Yeah,
which I think is really good. My number 29 is another new to me game for this year. It's so new, it hasn't even printed yet. It's due to land at sometime in October, I think. But I played it on Tabletop Simulator. This is Inventors of the South Tigris. So this is... It's weird. There's been a couple of invention-y type games came out around the same time. There's this one and there was Inventors, The Evolution of Ideas. But this one is set in that South Tigris series. So in 900s Baghdad, you are going around and using dice to power up different inventions. You have to have the idea for the invention, you have to develop the invention, you have to actually build the thing, you have to test it, you have to then publish it. And it's got these cards that sort of mash in together, doing different things. that just combine words together. It's a very silly theming, but actually quite a heavy game to think about. So you've got things like horse-powered eyeglasses, a wind-powered duck, that sort of thing. Those sorts of weird combinations that will come up from it. And you're just using your dice and workers a little bit to go around and just gain these different bonuses and to build out these inventions. I'm not doing a very good job of explaining it. It's a very weird game to explain without having it in front of you. And having only played it on Tabletop Simulator doesn't help. But it's a very interesting little puzzle. I like it way more than Wayfarer to the South Tigris, which I've got rid of. It's a good little game. I like it. It's nice and chunky. And at the time I did this list, it was quite fresh in there. It may have dropped since, but that's the nature of lists. It's always going to be interchanging. But it's good fun. It's very rarely do Garfield games let me down on a game. So, big fan of their stuff. I'd like to give Inventors a little bit more of attention, I think.
It's not one I've played as far as I'm aware.
No, we haven't played it.
And the South Tigris series so far hasn't really hit the mark for me necessarily, not comparison to... And at least with West Kingdom stuff, I'm kind of like, okay, there's a few... Well, it's one I'm not as big of a fan of, but the other ones I'm like, yeah, these are good. So it'd be interesting to see if maybe this is the one. I feel like I'm just going to keep attempting until, but maybe. I like an inventions game, right? So
yeah, exactly.
And the mixing actually sounds good. So again, add it to the list.
We'll add it to the list.
Add it to the list.
If it comes onto the table, we'll add it to the list. All right. So that's our 29. Let's go into 28. My number 28 is a game that. I've got a little bit of an interesting history with this one. I've got a story I can tell as part of this game, but it's together. So this game is apart from My Island, which is one that I'm playing through at the moment.
Yes,
let's say strongly the only Rhino Phoenix game I actively enjoy. It's co-designed by him and someone else, which I'll flash up on the screen because I do not remember off the top of my head. This is Witchstone. So Witchstone is a game where you are playing as witches, trying to build this coven by laying down different tiles into your cauldron and chaining a whole bunch of different actions. So as you play a tile down, the number of symbols of that particular action that are connected in that domino chain will trigger that many times. You've got a number of action points from it. And I just love having these weird and wonderful combos that you can have. You can lay out these connections, connecting your witches from different points in the town from the centre. You can move around the cauldron and move some gems out. You can get some bonuses from triggering those things out. You can move up the wand track, and by going up that, you'll get some more bonuses, which will feed into other actions. You can get some reward cards and some other bits and pieces that will just dash around and do all sorts. And it's just a fun, puzzly game that is really interesting to do because you've got these little tiles, and you play them down, and it's just looking at the combos and seeing how they come out. You're going to have to manipulate your strategy depending on which tiles come out, because you're going to have 5 behind your screen at any one time. And you might go, okay, I usually go heavy witch action and move my witches around. I don't have any of those witch tiles, so let's go with a pentagram action. Let's move the pentagram around and get some bonuses from that. And one of the fun things about this game, for me, is, it's the fun story that I alluded to earlier, is that I saw this in 2022 at Essen. There was a advert for the expansion, the Full Moon expansion. And I put it on my Christmas wish list or whatever. I thought, it might come out by that point. So it's coming out, it's probably going to come out. Christmas rocked around, we had a Secret Santa going on, and this like little Lego-y thing turned up from Amazon for like £3. I was like, well, that's a little insulting. And then forgot about it and did the Secret Santa again next year. It's like, well, that's annoying more than anything else. Cut to about 3 weeks ago, but I got a message in the Discord group or whatever it was, that Slack group that I was in, that had that Secret Santa, and they said, whoever I had back then with this Witchstone expansion, it's now coming. Oh. And this is July 2024. So this person had ordered this expansion, and it just showed up. So just like it turned up, like, well, okay then. Guess so. Now,
I mean, nice, right? So...
I'd forgotten about it and I'd written it off. I wasn't entirely. I thought it'd been pushed back for development, or if it'd just been scrapped entirely, and it just hadn't come out because Witchstone. I don't think it was received that well at the time.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be perfect opportunity for me just to throw in some, because I play. It's funny because it's almost forgettable, that sounds like I'm being really rude here. We played it once with you. I really enjoyed it actually in that play.
Yeah,
but until every cycle, every now and then, you'll mention it, and I'll be like, "Oh yeah, that was a really good game. We should play that again at some point."
Put it on the list.
Well, that's on the list. Less priority, maybe. But that's the problem, right? It's just like there's no. I'm not like, oh, I loved it, I must play it again. I'm just like, oh, this is actually really good.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I've forgotten about it a bit. And I think it got a bit lost in everything, didn't it?
It's a very solid game. I think that's the thing about it, is that you've got all these fun little combos you can do from it. You're like, oh, this is great. And then you wander off and you do something else. It doesn't have anything massive makes out, but I just always enjoy playing. I played it at Aircon. After you had gone from Aircon, I played it with my friend F. And we really enjoyed it. We were just like, I lost that game, but I still really enjoyed doing all the different combos and fun little stuff about it. So it sort of refreshed in my mind, that's actually a really good game. I really enjoyed that stuff. So yeah, that's my 28 then. So over to you.
Over to me. Well, sort of theme. We've done a really good job here because my number 28 is Quacks of Quedlinburg.
Nice. A bit of Quacks.
So push your luck. Things in a bag game, basically. So you have a bunch of stuff in the bag, you're pulling them out, you're playing them down, you're hoping your potion doesn't explode, essentially. You then get to buy some new stuff, put it in your bag, and then hopefully that makes it better for you when you're then pulling more things out your bag. I'm saying bag a lot. But, yeah, so basically push your luck game, really. Obviously, theming around potions, but yeah, really good. I'm not usually a push your luck fan, necessarily. I think stuff like, I don't know, Can't Stop, you can develop it weirdly. It's sort of a weird strategy to almost quite a lot mitigate the randomness or the luck. And then on the flip side of that, I don't really like games with a lot of luck in it.
Yeah,
so
no control
sometimes it's quite hard to like get that thing. But I think with something like something where you're building your machine, your thing, actually that balances it enough for me that I can get behind it. So Quacks is a really good one which I cannot remember the name of right now and it's escaping me. Oh, that's going to really annoy me. The racing car one where you draw bags out. Draw cubes out of a bag.
Oh, it was on your list earlier on there. Automobiles.
Automobiles, thank you. Ones like that where you're essentially bag building, really. Mitigate that so, I can get a lot of enjoyment. But yeah, I really like, the theming of it's quite good. And the art's quite, for what it is, the art's quite nice behind that. So I think it's quite good. Again, one that you can be like, oh, you're the sort of person who likes, bit of witchcraft, a little bit of that kind of magic intrigue. Oh, I can introduce this really good game to you.
Yeah.
And it's different for other stuff. And normally, my brain's still in that mode where I'm looking for games where I can do that, really. But yeah, nice. Yeah. Your thoughts, because you're quite a big fan, I think.
I am a big fan of Quacks. It was my number 3 last time we did this. It's not as high anymore. It's still in my top 50, so it will come up a little bit later for me. But I really enjoy mixing and matching, because you've got these different ingredients, but each of them has got, in the expansions, I've got up to 6 different variants of these different ingredients, so you can mix and match all together, see how those combos play out. You've got 2 different expansions that add in more stuff. You've got these random event cards that happen at the beginning of each turn that can push things one way or the other, which is always really interesting. And I like the catch-up mechanism that is in that game, because for however far behind you are the first player, you've got these rat tails which just sort of automatically get added to your potion, which push you a bit further around, means you're going to get more points or more scoring opportunities. It means it doesn't matter so much if you bust in the first 3 or 4 turns, if you just push hard to get the money, and then you can just keep going and do relatively well out of it. As I hear the garbage truck just tossing it down the road, but that's okay. Yes. So yeah, it's a good little game. Quacks is going to come up a little bit later for me, and we'll look forward to more thoughts on it then. Mm-hmm. Where are we? 27. Let's go to number 27.
Yes, which is me. So 27. It's a staple in my top 50. It's a game which just
Tapestry.
It's actually, I think it's gained a couple of
not Tapestry then.
Ranks for me. It's top best one. Is Islebound. So it's sitting in that world of, as I'm looking at my shoulder, above and below, near and far, etc., but with a slight twist on it. You have a ship, essentially. You're moving around on a semi-randomized board with islands you can visit. You can either conquer the island or you can kind of diplomacy the island. don't know what the right word is for that. Anyway, and then you can get them, and then that means you can then do the actions for free. You're mostly trading resources, moving around, fighting some bits, trying to score some points, essentially. You are, I always have to mention the book strat, which is my go-to strategy for this game. I think I've started actually evening out on my win to loss with the strat. I'm refining it. But essentially, for if you haven't watched a video before where I've mentioned about, I basically just try to get as many books as I can and then just recycle them into victory points. And sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't work. But now I'm committed that I have to do it every time I'm in a game. I have to do that strategy. Just for science or something, I don't know. Yeah, it's a funny one because I really enjoy it, but it kind of similar to what we've mentioned previously. It's not really like a standout game. I'm not going to be like, we must play this game when I've got, a collection behind. But every now and then it's a good one that I'm like, actually, I would quite like I've got a bit of an itch to play it again. So, yeah, it kind of sits in that weird, I really like this game, but only now and then. Only when I haven't played it in a while.
Yeah, it's not something you can go back to. Ultimately, I don't think it's had any expansions that I know of.
Yeah. There is a really small one, but nothing major. It's added a few like buildings and stuff essentially.
Yeah, so it will end up being a little bit stale if you play it over and over again because ultimately, as you say, a few bits of the map change.
Yeah.
But all the buildings are the same. It's just the location.
It's the same actions. Yeah, it's just where they're laid and how far you have to travel to do that thing. Yeah.
So it's not like a tapestry where you're doing exactly the same things over and over again, but the state of the game can change up drastically between each game, for example. Nice. My number 27 is one that I think will come up a lot higher on your list. It's another Garphill Games game, and it's a West Kingdom game. This is Viscounts of the West Kingdom, so this is the deck builder, the slow deck builder-y game, I guess, where you are going around the Rondel later on in the 900s, 10th century Francia, and you're just basically, the kingdom is going to ruin in some way, the king is dying and has kind of given up on looking after it, so you are the Viscounts trying to look after the land and make sure it's all okay. And you're doing a number of things, you're moving your Viscount around this Rondel, doing different bits and pieces, and taking different actions depending on the number of symbols that you have in your tableau in front of you. So you've got basically, you build this deck, but you've got 3 cards in front of you that will just activate each time that they go on. So you'll play a card down, they'll either trigger immediately or trigger when it falls off the end of the map and goes into a discard pile. But the icons on them will be continuous and will add up as the game plays out. So as you're bouncing around, you're going to be either trying to build buildings and put your own buildings onto the map. You're going to be moving your workers up into the castles to try and gain some prestige in that aspect.
Yeah, I was going to say influence, but yeah, prestige is a good word, yeah.
Trying to gain resources and do all sorts of different things. So you've got basically 4 different types of actions that you're doing, 2 on the outside of the circle, 2 on the inside. And it's just a really interesting, different game. I've played it a few times now, and I quite enjoy it. It's not as high on my list as the other 2 in the West Kingdom series. I know you like this one a lot more than Paladins, which is my preferred one. But I still think it's a very solid game. I do quite enjoy it. It's not it's not one that I hate. It's not it's not like Wayfarers where I've just kind of gone no thanks. Yeah. Because it's doing something weird and unique and different. And it's just it's enjoyable.
And I think it will definitely come up or appear further up my list in comparison to Architects, which I don't really know. It just I'm being very rude here. Really, I don't like being rude about board games because just in case. Anyone who's ever been involved in designing the game happens to watch the video, and then I feel bad. But Architects I find quite stale. It's probably boring wasn't quite the right word. Stale maybe is a word. Paladins I do enjoy.
Yes.
But Viscounts just hits all the right notes for me. When we're playing, I like that. Yeah, you can build that sort of machine, I guess, of the cards in front of you a little bit. It sort of tweaks what you're doing, in between games, really.
Yes.
So there's some more variation in that. So yeah, it's really good. Yeah, I really enjoy it.
And it's got that little, light and dark mechanism that goes in there. Yes. You've got these little modules that sort of move around, which into each other, which we played wrong the first time we played this, which is probably the.
And I think it's a better implementation than Architects has of that kind of.
Yeah.
Am I a good guy or a bad guy? Which I think was the thing that frustrates me the most. Okay, we'll go into it very, very quickly. The thing that frustrates me the most about Architects is they've got like are you a wonderful person, an absolutely amazing person within the society, or are you essentially a criminal and part of the seedy underworld? And actually, as far as I'm aware, and someone please put in the comments and correct me if I'm getting this completely wrong, but through all the plays I've had, being the criminal isn't really that good of a viable strategy because it locks you out from essentially contributing towards the cathedral, which is one of like the biggest point scoring areas, and also you don't get victory points for being in the lower half of that. What's the word I'm after? A reputation track.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like you can't go into that game, and I think the first time I played it, I think I tried to do this. You go into that game being like, oh, this is going to be fun. I'm going to be the bad guy and like do something slightly different to all of the other players who are all being good guys and getting some value or victory points out of that. So I don't know. It just feels like they missed an opportunity there for a different play style, because it would have been really interesting to be like, this time I'm going to be the good guy, this time I'm going to be the bad guy, and then get some different experience. I think every time you play.
I think some of the expansion stuff does lead into that a little bit more, but I haven't explored it anywhere enough to be able to say that definitively. So, but yeah. Anyway, that's Architects we'll talk about a little bit later on. That was our number, where are we? 27?
You're on 26. Yes. Oh, no, yes.
So this is going to be our number 26.
Yes.
My number 26, it's another deck builder game. I don't actually know how you feel about this one. I think you're less convinced about this as I am. This is all about moving cows and taking them around to Kansas, Great Western Trail, particularly the second edition, because the artwork is a lot nicer and there's some fun stuff. So Great Western Trails is deck builder game where you're moving around this rondel. Again, I've got two of these back to back, which is interesting. The Great Western Trail and Viscounts are kind of in the same space. Yeah. But you're moving around this rondel, taking different actions from the buildings that you land on based on this hand of cows that you've got. You're then taking them up to Kansas and trying to deliver them as far as you can to gain money for them. And the cows are calculated. The value of the cows is based on the value of the unique cows that you have in hand. It's a really interesting game to try and develop different strategies for. I tend to go down one particular route. I played a game of it recently on Board Game Arena where I went down a different route and actually came second, which wasn't too bad. I just like it. I just like it as a fun little heavy game. I'm intrigued to try Great Western Trails Argentina, which adds in a lot more weight, I've heard, and adds in a lot more stuff. But I've got Great Western Trails New Zealand, which is supposedly the better of the three, as far as I've heard of this new trilogy of cow games that came out. But also because it has sheep. And because it has got one really sassy sheep that's just looking over, it's basically square onto its backside and just looking over its shoulder. Oh, nice. Which is quite fun. And I've got someone photoshopped a picture of it, which I will show you, but I won't put up on the screen for embarrassment's sake. But if anyone wants to know, drop me a message. It's just good fun. So Great Western Trails, I think it's fun. It's fun to crack out every so often on Board Game Arena because it does a lot of the admin for you. I played a game of it remotely. So I played a turn-based game with the physical components set up. I was playing remotely. We were just recording our turns, taking them and switching between the two of us of whatever we were doing. I think the only slight screw-up that we had on that one was we didn't realise that some of the brown and purple cows had different point values. Oh, okay. Which is a thing, apparently. So it meant that they had slightly different values in their deck to the ones that I had from my market, but it would have been whatever my market was because I was controlling that aspect of it. So it didn't make too much of a difference to the world. We were able to see the same cards, kind of thing. Which maybe we'll talk about that in a remote, not playing games physically video. That might be a fun one to do at some point. Yeah, it'd be interesting to hear because I know you've done a few of them. Yeah, but so that's my thoughts on Great Western Trail. I know you aren't as keen on it. Yeah, I think it's because when I think of a deck builder, I usually think that deck is contributing to what I'm doing on my turn, or the cards which are coming up are kind of influencing the actions that I'm doing. And obviously with Great Western Trail, yes, you're getting different colour cows so that you get the most points essentially at the end of your journey. But I think it's just less of in my mind, it's not really a deck builder as such. Because those aren't necessarily contribute. It'd be like as if at the end you revealed all the cards and then they gave you different bonuses based off that, which contributes something rather than just contributed or not to victory points. Essentially, I guess the best way of describing it is probably not deck builder but deck cultivation. Yeah. You're trying to manipulate your deck to be this way because you start off with like three white, black, and grey. grey cows.
Yes, I think so.
White, black, and green, and then you've got 4 grey cows, which are worth 1 and 2 points. So I guess it is. Yeah, it's probably more deck cultivation. I guess.
Yeah, and I think
the dice in there and add dice, manipulate the cards in there, and put more power.
And I like that bit. I like the bit around that, but otherwise, for me, I don't. I think it's one of the ones where I just need to understand the strategy better to get like for it to elevate in my mind about it being a game that I'd want to play, because I'd be like, oh, I'll definitely try or do this thing. Whereas at the moment, I feel like I'm just going through the same sort of stuff because I'm still sort of discovering it a little bit. So I'm got a little bit of safety blanket on, and I'm just selecting the same actions pretty much, or doing very similar stuff every time.
Sure. We'll try New Zealand for my birthday, maybe.
That'd be really good. Actually,
fun one. What is your number 26, Rusty?
Well, to be very, very boring, you've already mentioned it. It's April. So,
okay.
So, so I mean, I won't cover off loads. We've already discussed it. Bees in Space. Woo! So, but sitting here, the reason why it's probably not as high is because I think there's not a lot of replayability in there at the moment. Right now. So obviously with the expansions coming in, what I'd really like to do or see maybe is maybe a bit more like drafting or some other decision making, or maybe like a little boost at the beginning of the game, just to I don't know, just to sort of
focus your engine a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, it's just something like that, which means go, oh, okay, I'm going to have to kind of like I just said a minute ago. I'm going to have to explore this little element of the game a little bit more. But it's sitting in the middle. I mean, I'm being hypercritical here to try to explain why the game about bees in space isn't higher up my list. But it's sitting obviously like bang smack in the middle. It's a really good game. We've already talked about it.
I think the main thing for me about the replayability is that when it was announced, it's like you've got 20 different clans, effectively tribes of bees that would have their own special abilities, and you've got all these ships. It's like, oh great, and there was only 5 ships. And it was kind of like that's not as fun as I would have liked. I'd like more ships, maybe less tribes.
Yes,
because I don't feel like you only play with one per, and it doesn't really matter. I don't feel like
there's some are stronger than others, and obviously they do dictate the strategy you might pick a little bit in the game. But there's not enough combination in there. I don't really feel like to be honest with you, the ship thing almost feels like it makes kind of almost no difference a little bit, because there's only 5 or so, and if you're playing like a 5-player game, right, that's just 1 out to everyone, so you just sort of see everything. And really the only difference is what tile you're placing over it is depending on the benefit you get. And some of them are really heavily focused, like there might be you place it here and you get a free extra bee worker, and some of them you place it here and you get some resources or some Queen's Favour, so it slightly changes the thing that you do maybe, but ultimately you're all just trying to fill your ship so you can score some points. So it doesn't really it doesn't. There just needs to be a bit more variation, I think, for it to really be elevated, I think.
Yeah, you kind of want some really weird shaped ships that you can build out of, because you can add extra tiles onto it to expand your ship in certain ways. But it's very oddly specific about how you can expand the ship.
Yes.
Which feels weird to me. But anyway, so cool. So that is our 30 to 26 of games of our top 50 of all time as of this moment. So what do you guys think? What do you think about the games that we've picked so far? Do you have anything that fits in your particular rankings that have crossed over with us, or are completely different to what we've come up? Have we said some of your games already that should be here? Have we not come across them at all? Bear in mind, we haven't played every game ever, because that's impossible. So, be kind. But we'll see what comes up next in our next batch of 5, which will be 25 to 21. If you like what you see, give us a like, a subscribe, do all the fun things that you do on YouTube. And until next time, thanks everyone. We'll see you soon.